Can you say this a little bit?
It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. That's exactly what time it is right now. Time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. We'll be talking to Blake coming up in just a second. In the meantime, let me give you some contact information you'll need to know because you'll want to get in touch with Blake after you hear the show, that's for sure. Whether to get more information or if you're buying, selling, whatever, call Blake today at his office in Sloan Realty Group. Sloan Realty Group. The phone number is 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD, or go online to blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com. We'll repeat that information a lot over the next 30 minutes. In the meantime, let's go ahead and get the show started. Here's Blake Sloan.
Good morning, everyone. Got an awesome show. Tons of crazy stuff going on in the market right now that we're seeing here locally. This is the 25th Corona edition that we've had 25 straight weeks of just doing this through the new COVID-19. And really what we've seen here is a perfect storm, right? We've seen a perfect storm from everyone up north continuing to move down here. We have the brand new numbers out from last month, just hot off the press, and they're shocking again. To say the least, have some more records that we're seeing in regards to what's happening around the marketplace. Inventory dangerously low and away, where a new record we hit for low inventory, aka the amount of homes for sale. So we're facing right now an inventory crisis where we need homes to sell. We'll talk about that as well. Huge news. Our team, again, over 20 plus properties under contract last week. We just had the single largest 7-day period of homes going under contract since we've been tracking it. If you remember back when we started COVID, we started tracking each week of how many properties you go under contract. It was like 300, 400, well over 800, almost 900 properties went under contract the last 7 days. So crazy stuff you're seeing right now. We also have a new report, a 2020 home buyer wish list, where you're seeing so much change right now with COVID-19 and really how the whole world operates, what buyers are looking for in homes if possible. And so that's something we'll talk about too. Again, and one thing that really kind of stresses how Myrtle Beach is kind of in that perfect storm, right? We're still an affordable destination. We're one of the top beach destinations in the United States. We have all-time low of interest rates kind of hovering where an all-time low. And so ultimately, we're in a huge opportunity in regards to real estate where so many people are moving. We just closed on a couple homes this week where the people have not seen them. They were toured virtually through technology. They bought, have not seen it yet as well. We'll talk about that as well. Of course, some amazing success stories as usual. Very proud of. Also, I represent a fund with millions of dollars that's looking to purchase properties outright too. If anyone needs anything like that, just a quick instant buyout, I have that ability too. But more importantly, listen to the show and we'll talk about how right now is an unprecedented time where you can get absolute top dollar for your home, much more than we've seen for really over a decade.
All right, sounds good. Well, we're just getting started on this, but if you're tuning in for the very first time and you're wondering who is this Blake Sloan guy, who's been called the real estate whiz kid, been featured in Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, Realtor magazine, and other national publications. On TV, you may have seen his face on NBC or maybe with Fox and Friends, the morning show. Also, personal endorsements, you've heard those on this very radio station from Sean Hannity, from Glenn Beck, Barbara Corcoran, Gary LaVox, and others. Put them all together, it's unprecedented in the world of real estate. Now, in addition to that, each and every week you hear a little bit more about the trademark systems that Blake has to help both home sellers and home buyers. Can't tell you all the little secrets and details, but more than happy to tell you the biggest part of that trademark system.
So important, especially when you're dealing for most people, their largest asset or one of their largest assets, aka their real estate, because the single most important variable that determines your failure or success as a home seller comes down to one thing only. That thing is the agent you choose, period. We made a commitment to talk about this every single week on this show because of so many horror stories that we see. I'll talk about actually 2 of them today that we've also heard. And so the reality is people think and make this mistake of thinking they're all real estate agents are the same. It could not be further from the truth. Just like any doctor, any lawyer, right? If you're having open heart surgery, you want somebody who's the absolute best, who lives, eats, breathes that, and knows what they're doing, right? The same thing, you're charged with a crime you did not commit. You don't want a part-time attorney who someone said may be able to help you out, right? You want the absolute best. And so you should have that same commitment and desire for having someone to help represent you when you're looking to sell your home and buy it. And so why does it matter? Okay. Well, when you're selling a property, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one's handled correctly, puts money in your pocket, property gets sold. Anything's handled incorrectly, aka they drop the ball, that costs you your hard-earned equity, or the property does not sell. And so that's something that we see happen over and over. And the problem is most agents don't even know what the variables are, right? They're just winging it. They do the 3 Ps. 1, they promise the world to get listing. 2, they put it to the MLS. And 3, they just pray that someone else brings a buyer. Meanwhile, they put it MLS. They're down the street trying to get the next listing from your neighbor because they're trying to survive in the business, right? And that's what leaves so many home sellers just hanging and not getting the result they want. And so what we did is one of the first things I did is say, look, let's identify every single variable in that process and let's put it on paper. We put it on paper, and then what we did is we created a system that's proven and repeatable, backed up by technology and people on the team to create maximum leverage every single point. So what we do is we create a gap at point 1. A gap at point 2. And what we do there is stack the dominoes. So at the end, there's a massive gap between us and everyone else. And what that does there, it gives our client a huge competitive advantage because we proactively manage each variable so that it does not get dropped. And that could be anything from the quality of your photos, right? Which is why we have an in-house professional photographer. It could be anything from the order of your photos. It could be, does your agent answer the phone when somebody calls that for sale sign? Does that agent respond to an online lead once it comes in off the internet, right? How long does it take them to respond? And so there's all these different variables that matter, especially right now. Do they have access to the data to help you make the best decision so you don't leave $10,000 or $15,000 on the table? And so those are things that matter. And so what I did there, reverse engineer every single one and put that system. That system's called the Guaranteed Sold System. The only proven system sells twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well, right? I designed it. It's exclusive to us here. Anyone tells you have something similar, they're flat out lying because I created it. But we do license it out to other agents in other parts of the country. And so the reality is it works. It's just like having a marathon. Everyone takes off at the shotgun start. People start sprinting. Looks pretty normal in the beginning. But what happens is over time, people spread out. Some finish 2 and 3 hours ahead of other people. It's the same exact thing that we do with your largest asset. And so make sure you have someone who has a proven, repeatable system. And so that's just something that's super important. And here's the thing, like when you're dealing with this level of assets it matters who you have. You're not buying a Best Buy TV here. Every single variable matters and makes or breaks $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 in what you're doing. We talked about last week's show, the horror story, the guy who didn't like realtors, who talked to us on the phone, did not meet with us, ended up doing it himself and cost himself $90,000 instantly, right? And so we'll talk about that here in a minute, but it's the same exact thing on the buyer side. Usually, they're the opposite variables. And so what we did is we reverse engineered a system there called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Get you priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation on purchase price, also through the closing process into home inspection, all the way to that closing table. And so the key is you want to have a true expert. Everyone on our team is a certified real estate expert. We're very good at what we do, and it matters, right? You need to have someone who's there to help you. And I'll talk about a horror story in a minute where someone that listens to this show actually had called in, talked to us, ended up listing a house with someone. We looked it up. That person has never, ever sold a house before, ever. Right? The last thing you want to do, could you imagine being, someone who, let's say that they're a doctor doing their first open heart surgery. They have no one there to help them, an individual, and they're just testing that on you. The last thing you want to do with your largest asset is do that. And so the bottom line is, if you listen to the show, right, you owe it to yourself to get that level of service to make sure all those variables are handled. And that's what we'll talk about here the rest of the show in a few minutes.
All right, sounds good. We're just getting started. A lot of places to go here. Coming up in just a minute, we'll find out what the interest rates are looking like right now. Also, we'll look at what the market here in the Myrtle Beach area is looking like right now as well. A lot of numbers coming your way, but they're very important numbers. Don't go anywhere. It's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Call Blake today at his office. The phone number at Sloan Realty Group is 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD.
Hey, if you were in the market to make the most money for your home, Sean Hannity here with some important advice. Now look, I'm an active investor. I have bought and sold a lot of properties in hot, cold, moderate markets. And one of the lessons I have learned is this: hire the agent that knows how to create the most demand for your home. If I needed to create demand in this market, no question, there's only one real estate agent I trust if I needed to sell my home. I'm talking about Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Now, he services the entire Myrtle Beach area, attracts hundreds of buyers every week, and sells a home on average every 24 hours. Now, that helps you generate multiple offers and sell your home for the most money possible. Plus, it's like getting an immediate offer on your home, because if your home doesn't sell for the price and the deadline you agreed to, you will have it bought for cash, and he offers flexible fees. Find out how much demand your home can command right now. Call the agent that creates the most demand. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or online at BlakeSloan.com. That's BlakeSloan.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corcoran. To sell your home on time for the most money, you need a sharp agent with a marketing strategy that creates the most demand. Bottom line, You need a partner willing to put their own money on the line for you. In Myrtle Beach, I would hire Blake Sloan. His international marketing creates so much demand that if your home doesn't sell at a price and deadline you agree to, Blake will buy it. Partner with the agent I trust. Go online or call and get your home sold.
It is the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Coming up in just 1 minute, we'll find out what the mortgage rates are looking like right now. But in the meantime, let's find out what some other numbers look like. The real estate market, what's it looking like in the area here, Blake?
It's still crazy, that's for sure, man. It's been a wild ride the last few months, and just kind of looking back all the way through March and April and May. I mean, we had the shutdown, and so there's two important numbers to look at this month. This week, we're going to talk about the overall macro numbers for the whole Grand Strand last month, fresh off the books, and so that's a key part because it lets us know, like, hey, what's happening overall, the entire Grand Strand? How's Myrtle Beach stacking up to how we were last year, and also to other areas of the country? But the second metric we've been tracking is real time, how many properties go under contract each week. I've been listening for a while. We started doing that just because I wanted to know, like, real time data. If you look at the macro numbers, they're usually a month behind. And also, if you look at what that means is usually if something goes under contract 45 to 60 days later is when it actually closes. Why is that? We have to go through a financing process, underwriting, title search, all this stuff. And so I want to know what's happening in real time and also what's happening in deals closing. And so we look at both those metrics. It's become very powerful here during the show to kind of watch each week. My team and I look at it every morning for the previous 7 days, just so we can get a pulse of what's happening so we can better advise our clients in what to do. And so, for example, if you remember when the thing started shutting down around March and April, there was about 380 to 400 properties per week going under contract. Once we opened back up, it jumped back up 500 and 600. We were averaging between 600 and 700. Then it was mid to high sevens for the past month or so. This past 7 days, 869 properties under contract, the largest that we've seen in the 7-day period since we started tracking this in March. $251 million under contract, $251,603,351. So what's that mean? A ton of people buying right now, especially here. A lot of high-end stuff, too. Looking at there's an $18 million piece of property that's been on the market for a long. It's a large tract of land on the waterway, just went under contract. $2.8 million property in Pawleys Island. $2.4 million property here in Black Creek, and that was only in the market a few days. And so the reality is we're seeing a lot of high-end properties. We just closed on $1 million property on the waterway this past week on Monday. And so the reality is it's super hot right now. So when you forecast out 45, 60 days from now, you're going to see a big upswing in regards to how many properties close as well. So looking at the overall macro numbers from last month, they just came in. Looking at August, so single-family home sales compared to the same August last year of 5.7%. Nothing like we saw last month, where if you look at last month, July, there's 711 properties closed. This month, 593. Still up from last year. Why is it less? Because inventory is super low right now. There's just less properties available. And what's really causing that, I'll talk about. If you look at this amount of supply, the amount of supply is down 45.3%. So we have 45.3% less homes available for sale than we did the same exact time last year. And so you can see how that's creating massive pressure on price. Right now, there's 2.9 months of inventory. And so what that means is if there's not a single home listed in 2.9 months, we'd be run out fully, right? And so we're seeing a lot of properties that were even like problem properties that couldn't sell before. They're getting offers, they're getting sold. But we're in a crisis, an inventory crisis. It's the lowest I've seen it since we've had technology to do so. When I go all the way back into data, it was October 2006 was the last time it was this low. But think about how many properties have been built here since October 2006, and it's still that low. And so it's wild to think about. Look at all development, both condos, houses, in all those areas, and we're still at 2.9 months inventory right now, is 100% full-blown crisis. And so we're still not seeing anything let up. And so if you're listening to the show, out there, we need inventory. And that's the reason I want to share this and talk about. That's a crisis we're dealing with. And anybody that's been listening for a while, I need you to do me a favor. Anybody you talk to, friend, relative, aunt, uncle, cousin, you like them, don't like them, whatever it is, they mention anything about real estate, have them call me. Pull out your phone and say, look, you got to call my buddy Blake. His number is 808-SOLD because we can get it matched up with buyers for top dollar right now because we have so many buyers from across the country. I'll talk about that in a minute. Sales price up 13.3% last month. $335,000 is the the average sale price for the overall Grand Strand, the median price up 14.9% at 270. And so prices are still climbing steadily, pretty much as high as they can that the appraisals allow. One of our biggest challenges we've run into is that appraisals can't keep up with the amount of demand and how high prices are going. So that's something we want to keep watching. And really, that's kind of what's limiting it a little bit overall. And so the one thing that you're also seeing is how many showings per listing, how much more traffic is here this month versus the same month last year. It's up 22%. And so right now, it's 22% more buyers looking at properties, aka accessing them, than there was the same month last year. And so that means we're still going strong into these next few months. I have some friends all across the country that are pretty highly concerned that we may see some type of economic challenges going forward. You start looking at what's happening with a lot of commercial real estate right now. I have a good buddy in Dallas of mine who's just talking about how they shut down one of the big giant hotels next to his high-rise office building. He said his high-rise office building was, 100% capacity, parking lot full. He's like, man, it hasn't even been close to halfway full since April. And so you're going to see, I think, a trickle effect. And so if you're thinking about selling cash in right now at the top, especially if you're looking at moving laterally or up or down because interest rates are all-time low, you can really capture it and obviously take a lot of the equity out. We have so many homeowners who basically didn't realize they can get as much money as they can, sometimes $30,000 more dollars they thought they could get in many cases. And so that's just something interesting to watch as well. New construction has still been smoking as much. Their sales are up 21% last month alone. And so into condos, you're seeing very, very similar thing as well. Condo sales up 2.3% last month from the same month last year. But the key part here, you're seeing prices also up. Prices up 13.6% at $190,000. If you look back in 2017, the average sale price was $132,000. Now it's $190,000. And so that's kind of how you're seeing the overall increase there. Inventory also down in the condos, down 8% at 4.6 months. But the one thing that see this time, actually, I was in the market. I've been in the business since January 2005. My whole family's in real estate, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma. And so the reality is this time's different, right? 2005, there's so many flips and people flipping condos and just, it was so much different. This time we're seeing single family occupants and second homes moving in and migrating from other areas. And when I talk about that perfect storm, we're seeing so much pain in the Northeast, in these large cities. They want to escape COVID and all the different restrictions that they're very frustrated. I've never seen such a frenzy before where people literally are buying these large assets via phone. They're shipping their stuff in containers down here just to be able to get ahead of time to make sure everything's handled. Because especially in New York, New Jersey, there's been a concern where people can't go back unless they quarantine. We have a lot of clients that just say, hey, forget it. We're not even paying attention to it. And they go anyways. Haven't had anybody that's gotten in trouble yet. We didn't advise to do that. We say, look, we don't advise that, but they're still doing it. But the reality is it's a whole different ballgame than I've ever seen right now. And so if you're a home seller, take advantage of that, right? Where everyone's moving to and you have the product they want, take advantage and strike while the iron's hot, as my mom used to always say. And so that's something we'll keep watching. One thing that keeps driving this overall is, again, interest rates on top of that. And that goes back to that perfect storm. Massive pain in the metropolitan areas. People want to escape that. And obviously people having new desires, what they want and look at. People want to enjoy life a little more. Or if they're locked down, they'll be in somewhere they like. Interest rates right now, if you look at last week's show, they were at 2.95%. This week right now, 2.85%, which is awesome. We're very close to the all-time low of 2.81%. A 15-year fixed rate right now, 2.39%. Which is super, super low, very close to the all-time low. A 30-year FHA loan, 2.46%. That's a steal for anybody out there looking for your first-time home. You're getting 3% down, 2.46%. We've had so many first-time buyers buy, and we're blown away at how much less their monthly payment was than their rent prior. If you have a family member or yourself, we have a specialist on our team, also a lender we're partnered with to get maximum leverage for you there if you're looking to do that. A jumbo loan, a 30-year jumbo loan, 3.54%, and a 5-year adjust rate mortgage is 2.75%. What's this mean? Money is cheap, right? And people are moving here like crazy. I haven't seen anything like it. Like I mentioned before, our team has kept that pedal to the metal since the whole thing started. And the reality is we're burning at both ends, pushing to make sure we keep up. Our largest month ever in history of our company last month because we're just trying to keep up with what's going on. But we need homes. And we'll talk about it in a second. If you know anyone out there thinking about selling, have them call us at 843-808-SOLD.
Website right now looking for your home, and we're also going to look at some great success stories. and a couple of bad horror stories as well. That's all coming your way in just a minute. We want you to be a success story. We want you to call Blake Sloan at his office right now. Sloan Realty Group, that's 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD, or go online to blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com.
Hey, Myrtle Beach, it's Gary LaBox, lead singer of Rascal Flatts.
When I'm Moving On won the award for ACM Song of the Year, it struck a chord with folks who understand the challenges that come with life's big changes. For many, that happens when it comes time to sell their home. If you're moving on, you want a real estate agent who will make selling your home easy and stress-free. An agent who's willing to let you out of the contract if you're not happy with their service.
That's why in Myrtle Beach, I can tell you that Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group markets your home on a whole different level. Now listen, Blake is so confident in his ability to sell your home quickly and for more money that he guarantees to sell it or he'll buy it himself. If you're moving on, trust Blake to provide your family a stress-free home sale experience. Find Blake Sloan online at blakesloan.com, or you can call him at 843-808-SOLD. Start packing. About 7 minutes.
Perfect.
It's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Coming up in just a minute, we've got some great success stories to get to. But first of all, I want to let you know how many people are out there looking for your home. As you heard a minute ago, Blake has a problem with inventory. He needs it. And if you've got a home that you're even thinking of selling, contact him immediately at 843-808-SOLD. Why? There are thousands. Take that back. There are tens of thousands of people on Blake's website right now. 58,571 was the latest number I looked at. How many people have active accounts on Blake's website looking for homes in the Myrtle Beach area? They're looking for your home.
Yes, and these are, like Dave mentioned, username, password account. If you go back to some of the YouTube videos where we streamed this, and back when the overall lockdown started happening, I said, look, we're going to keep pedal to the metal. We're spending massive amounts of money driving traffic online, and we literally outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. So what gives us an advantage? Let's say you're thinking about calling me, you're thinking about calling in, like, why should I call you? Well, here's the thing. I'll spend tens of thousands of dollars driving traffic online before you ever pick up that phone. And so one of the first things we did way back is we really got dialed in to buyers in the Northeast. And so we say, hey, look, here's where the money's coming from. And guess where the first place most people go? Straight to Google, right? And so we spend a lot of money online driving traffic. And so we have buyers from all over the country. And like Dave mentioned, tens of thousands of buyers in regards to that. Almost right, 60,000 buyers we're very close to. And so the reality here, like right now on the site, have John Klopfelder from Newport News, Virginia. I got Amy from Charlotte. I got Mary from Waynesville, PA. I got all over, and they're all looking for properties. And these people have been here like 79 visits. Tammy here, she's been on the site 79 times. That she has 15 favorite properties right now. And here's the problem. I need inventory. We need properties to sell. And this is not something I get in here and just say, like, this is the lowest I've ever seen it since I could track it. And though that's the biggest, crisis we're facing right now. And again, if you have somebody that's thinking about it, take advantage and strike where that iron's hot. But I definitely need my radio warriors out there. Anybody you run into that mentions it, just do me a favor and say, look, you got to call Blake. Number one, for their sake, so we can make sure we can get them top dollar. And here's the thing. When we have that many buyers, we're able to take, our 58,571 active buyers and match them up. We have technology that we built out that will take all the buyers we have, take their property or your property, and reverse engineer the most likely buyer for that property based on the features and based what they've been searching for. And so that's the difference where we have that many buyers and the technology to match it up, and a sales team of experts who can actually push it for you versus just having somebody who puts MLS and lets it sit there. And so I want to reiterate that again, because that's our number one challenge right now. And we don't know how long this is going to last because obviously a lot of uncertainty with elections, a lot of uncertainty with vaccinations, and there's a lot of uncertainty right now. At the same time, real estate's at the highest we've seen it in a very, very long time. Do not miss out and let that window shut down for sure. So bottom line is, we're in an inventory crisis, 2.9 months down, 45% from where it was last year, with buyers still streaming in here like crazy. And so we're selling a lot of properties for tens of thousands of dollars more than the sellers thought they could get, and doing it within hours. And so that's also turnkey, and we can help advise you on what to do or what not to do to get the most amount of money. So real quick, I know we got a few minutes left. I want to get to some awesome success stories. Also on top of that, big shout out to both Dan and Carrie, super smart people, listen to this show. He listens to it every weekend, and called us this week to get it sold for them ASAP. Beautiful house right near the ocean, North Myrtle Beach. And he bought it, had a horror story with a previous agent a couple years ago. And he said he did not want to go through that again. So he called us first. Super smart people right there as well. So big shout out to Jake and Angelina. They're looking to move closer to their family in North Carolina to help them with their having children. And so they need to sell their house here ASAP and for top dollar so they can close their house in North Carolina. And they called us after they already had that one lined up. They wanted to be there closed before the baby arrives. Thankfully, Jake was referred to us by a listener of this show who heard all the success stories. We came in, designed a custom marketing plan to get them top dollar, launched Globe Marketing Blitz, professional photos, drove massive traffic, and one day had them offer $3,000 above asking price. Now Jake and Angelina can move to the family of North Carolina without having to worry about anything, paying 2 mortgages, and they put maximum dollar in their pocket, which is cool. Really quick, one more shout to Cliff and Kim. Had their house listed with another agent for over 6 months, 0 offers. And they had a new home being built, Little River, needed to get top dollar, needed to sell it quickly. Thankfully, obviously, they called us. They heard us about on this radio station. We came in, we identified the problem, which was marketing. It did not look as good as it should have online compared to how the house looked in real life. We designed a custom strategy, launched our Globe Marketing Blitz, professional photos, virtual reality walkthrough. Just a couple weeks ago, had just a couple weeks on the market, massive traffic, offer 98% of asking price, and that's something that's super cool as well. And I wanted to share this one that's interesting. Katie on our team, she's one of our buyer experts. She told a story today about Kirk and Mimi. They're from Maryland. They came down during the pandemic and they wanted to basically celebrate their honeymoon. They all of a sudden they found a great deal at $372,000. They got it for $350 because she negotiated off in this crazy market. And the one more is Jackie and Mike. Here's a cool part. They're at work with Amanda on our team, but they want to move down to Myrtle Beach from New York by fall. They had a trip planned in July to buy. Mike's doctors advised against it since he was in remission from cancer. So Amanda went in and did virtual tours of properties with video for them. Able to go property to property. Since homes are flying off the market really quick, they narrowed down the top 5. They found one on the market. She was there within 3 hours, and they got it under contract the same day. And so all without Jackie and Mike ever seeing it. And so this is like a new world we're in right now, man. People buying houses off of cell phones. And so this is something that we want to take advantage of. I don't think it's going to last as long for sure. But if you're thinking about selling, definitely reach out. How much time I got? Don't be the guy. 2 situations. Number one, we talked about Terry briefly last week. This is something that just still irks me for this person. Terry is somebody who called in, spoke with us, but he said he hated realtors. We were not able to kind of meet with them and go through the whole process, but he said he hated realtors, didn't want to work with it. Long story short, before we could work with him, and I think he listens to the show, before we could work with him, is that he ended up listing with a flat fee online, meaning you basically represent yourself. They put MLS for you. Came in, we followed back up. He said, look, I got my house sold. We're like, oh, man, what'd you sell for? He got $520,000. And the problem was whenever we got it, Jeremy on my team did a full market analysis. He valued at $610,000 all day, every day, can sell within days. And so Terry left $90,000 on the table because he was trying to save 3%. Right, $90,000 on the table. That's something that still keeps me up at night thinking about it. You better believe that he does too. And so don't be the Terry. Right, reach out to us. Use an expert. And this same thing I see happen over and over with agents. Right, agents don't have the data. They give you a number. They just kind of make it up and guess. And next thing you know, it sells in a few hours, and you could have got $20,000 more. Don't make that mistake with your largest asset. Anyone you know, have them call me 843-808 sold.
Absolutely. Call Blake today. That's the first phone number to shoot.
Yes.
Not the second or third. The first phone number is 843-808 sold. 843-808-SOLD, or go online to blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com, and get a recap of everything that we talked about here today. Great show, Blake. We'll talk to you again next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.